How's it going? I'm back again with Chasin the Tone, episode whatever this is. We are here in Clovis, New Mexico, at the Enormo Dome to play tonight with Flatland Cavalry. And this is Reid Dillon from Flatland. How are you, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I am very good. Hopefully, I've heard there's going to be about 39,000 people here later. That's a rough estimate, but we're going to learn about your gear here. So let's start with your pedals. Go ahead.
So starting on the bottom row right here, we got the Topanga Spring Reverb. That's my lighter reverb that I use. It kind of keeps everything still percussive. It doesn't really bleed into rhythm, guitar, or anything. And then right to the right of it is the Hall of Fame, which is the big reverb that I use for swells and kind of stuff like that.
And is this because your amp doesn't have reverb, or you prefer this reverb?
Right, so I'm running through a 66 Vibrochamp, Blackface Vibrochamp, and it does not come with reverb on it. So yeah, just working with the pedal for now.
Got it.
And then to the right of the Hall of Fame is the Super Trim. The Vibrochamp does have tremolo on it, but I don't have a pedal for the tremolo, and also you can't really control the tempo of the tremolo. So I just use the Super Trim, and the knobs are big enough to where I can adjust the tempo just with my foot because the knobs are nice and big.
Which is, I don't know about you, but for me, while you're playing,
right.
Oh my God, you can't beat that.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice to have the tremolo either right on the beat or pretty close to it. So that's a convenient pedal to have for sure. And then going up to the top row, starting on the left, that's just a typical AB box, so that way I can run, I can switch between the two different inputs on my Vibrochamp to either the first input to get more overdrive, or I can switch over to the second channel and get a lot more headroom for cleaner stuff. And then directly to the right of that is my tap tempo for my digital delay, which is directly to the right of that, DD7. I normally keep the DD7 on the modulation mode. It gives a really nice character to clean tones especially, and it just kind of sits in the back and doesn't really get in the way of anything. So
you're keeping that on like literally all the time then?
No, I only use it for certain songs. If I'm playing lead, really overdriven lead, I don't like to use it too much because I just have everything running through the front of the amp. So if I start driving the amp too hard, then the tremolo and the reverb are going to get amplified too, because I'm just running everything. Doesn't have an effects loop, obviously. It's 66. So I just like to use it for cleaner stuff. Occasionally I'll use it on a more of a lead tone, but for the most part, just clean stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
And then right next to that is a blues driver. Blues driver mainly just sits there most of the time, and I only use it a couple of times during the set when I need to get a little more sustain for lead stuff, more legato lead stuff that I need more sustain on. And then to the right of that is just the typical EP booster. It just literally just boosts the signal from anywhere from 10 dBs to I don't even know what it goes to. But
so do you just use that for boosting solos?
Right. Yeah, so I typically use the EP booster for most of my solos, and then the blues driver on top of that for the really gritty stuff. So that's like my super lead, I guess. So
I do something very similar to that with different pedals, but similar idea.
Yeah, cool. And then to the right of that is the typical Boss tuner. Can't live without that thing.
Okay, well, now that we've heard about them, why don't you just go through real quick on each one and give a little sample, or at least maybe some of the highlights.
Yeah. So here's just dry signal. And then here's with that Topanga. And then Hall of Fame. Really good for swells and stuff like that. And then here's that Boss, the Boss DD7 delay with the modulation setting.
Like John Schofield just showed up there, or Alan Holsworth came back from the dead on that one.
Yeah, I love that pedal. Use it a lot. Here's the blues driver. I'll give you like more of a lead tone. This is with the blues driver and the EP booster on. And that's pretty much it for pedals. Here's the super trim. This thing's really cool. It has a half speed switch.
So you can use that to not mess with the tempo, but just mess with how many times it's gonna. Oh yeah,
exactly. So it'll stay in time, but you literally just take the tempo in half or double it, whatever you're using it for. Then it also has a hard soft button, which I don't really use that much. It just makes the tremolo really sharp, you know. And then if you just click that off, don't really use that too much, but
yeah, I think some tremolo pedals have like different waveforms you can choose from, and some of them do that. They just call it something different.
Right.
Yeah. Well, those sound freaking awesome. And that was nice and simple, which once again, I understand how to use every one of those. So I feel accomplished so far personally. So let's go to your amps here while we're at it, or amp, I should say. Also a man after my own heart with just one low watt guy running this whole thing, man. So go ahead and tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's a 66 Vibrochamp. It's only 5 watts, but I have it running through a 212 cab. It's actually an Agnator cab, but at some point the E got chipped, and then I just decided to take the whole badge off. But it has Celestion speakers, Celestion Lead 80s, I think. They made the speaker directly for this cab, or specifically for this cab. But they sound great. They're awesome. Anything Celestion puts out is usually pretty decent.
I am a Celestion artist. I agree.
Yep. So yeah, and then I have that AB box going on my pedal board. So channel 1 is for more gritty stuff, and channel 2 gives me a little bit more headroom for the cleaner stuff. So that's nice. And then I wish I could use this tremolo live, but it's not very applicable. But it is some of the best tremolo I've ever heard on an amp. It's great, especially if you slow it down and then increase the. Sounds a lot better than the Super Trim, but the Super Trim's more applicable. So.
Yeah, just because you can't be back here to actually like mess around with it while you're, for every song you want to use it on. Yep. Oh yeah. And so it looks like you keep the bass pretty low and the treble sort of in the middle. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. So I normally just keep the volume pretty much dimed, and the amp's dynamic enough to where you can control whether it's clean or breaking up pretty much just by how hard you're playing. And then, so yeah, I just keep it dimed, and once you start driving the amp a lot, it's good to turn the bass down, or else the bass starts getting flobby.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So that's why I have the bass kind of low, but still plenty of low end coming out.
And do you have any kind of tube preference, or are you not too picky on that?
To be honest, I don't know enough about tubes to be picky about it, but
I think that is a very common statement. Yep.
Yeah, I let the amp techs handle that kind of thing. So.
Cool. And you have the looks like the usual Sennheiser culprit down here, which I think sounds awesome, which is probably why I see it on 8 out of every 10 cabs I see everywhere. Okay, awesome. And why don't we hear about the guitar that you have with you right now while we have it?
Yep. So this is my number one. This is the one I use 90% of the time. It's a 52 reissue. I think it's a 2011 or 2013 52 reissue. It's not a relic. All of this wear on it stuff's just from me using it. I did take the finish off the back of the neck just to give it a smoother feel, and I was really happy with how it turned out. Actually, it feels great.
It actually looks cool like that too.
Yeah, it's great. It has a little bit thicker of a neck than usual, so I've always been a fan of that.
And what gauge strings are you using?
I use 10 Ernie Ball Cobalts, 10 gauge.
Okay. Yeah. And do you ever vary from 10 gauge on any guitars, or just?
So my SG that you'll see in a minute, I put 12s on it for slide. I use it for slide. It has a wound G string and everything, so yeah.
Okay, and what are the pickups in here? Are they the ones that came with it?
Yeah, stock 52 reissue pickups. The bridge pickup's great because it has the flat pole pieces, super old school, and I think this bridge pickup is just stellar. And then the neck pickup's a lot softer, kind of Stratty sounding almost in the neck pickup. And it also gives me a lot of dynamics between the two pickups. I can knock on that bridge and it'll be nice and gritty, and then up to the neck and I can have that Fender clean tone. So it's great.
Well, that's simple and I love it. Yeah, we as I've been doing these interviews, sometimes you find people who change it, like basically get a guitar they like the feel of, and then immediately change out the pickups,
Right.
which is totally valid. And then sometimes though, you can get a guitar where the pickups that came in it are just sound awesome, just like this. And it's that's the thing. Basically, it comes down to whatever you like the sound of is what you're going to sound best playing. So you know how it is. Okay, so now we'll go and check out your other guitars.
Sounds good.
And so here's guitar number 2. Tell us all about this beautiful SG.
Okay, so I believe this is a 2012. I think it's a SG Faded or SG Studio, something like that. No pickup covers. It's kind of bare bones, not really high gloss or anything. Just 1 or 2 sheets of lacquer, I think. I use 12 gauge strings on it. This is my slide guitar, by the way. I only use it on one song since I only played slide on one song.
So you have the action up real high.
Yeah. Somewhat high action, but not too crazy or anything. But yeah.
And do you play in some sort of open tuning, or you just play slide and standard tuning?
Standard tuning for the most part. Yep.
That's how I do it too.
Yeah. Yep. So.
And these are the pickups that came with it as well?
Yeah, stock pickups. As far as I know, I actually bought a used, so could be wrong.
Okay, yeah, they could have done something. Wow, and they're actually really humongous difference too in where they're set.
Yep. And
Wow.
somehow it's still kind of balanced. I've noticed that before, and somehow between the bridge and the neck pickup, it's not that much of a crazy difference. So
There must be serious level difference in those pickups then to have them offset so much and come out the same. And so when you play slide on this guitar that you have specifically for slide, do you vary the pickup that you use, or you
mainly neck pickup to keep it nice and warm? Occasionally I'll go in the middle, sometimes for the solo and stuff like that, make it stand out a little more.
And also on all of your guitars, just playing all night in general, do you do any EQing with the actual tone knobs on your guitar?
Yeah, so I'm sure you know how it is. Every night it can kind of sound different, and yeah, so if there's a little too much high end, just in the middle of a song and I hear it, it's kind of like ice picky high end, I'll just roll off the tone a little bit, just kind of doing it in the middle. So
yeah, I feel like the tone knob, the tone control on guitars is highly underutilized. I feel like people just kind of forget it's even there. But okay, awesome. Well, if you don't have anything more about that, then let's move on to this other beauty here.
let's do it. All right.
Les Paul, I see.
Yeah, so this is a 2012 Les Paul Traditional Pro. It's a great guitar. It was actually my first American-made guitar that I bought. I bought it my senior year in high school. Saved up all my money from working a summer job. Bought it. I think I got it for like $15.50 or something like that. It was brand new when I got it. So
We're learning about hard work and life lessons right now.
yeah, it's great. Actually, when I got it, it didn't have the silver pickup covers. It had zebra pickups, but I always liked the classic look of the covers. I also added the little indicator knobs next to the volume. I always just kind of wanted a 59 Les Paul. There's little indicators right there. Yep. Has locking tuners, Grover locking tuners. That's great for changing strings. Makes it a lot quicker. It's non-weight relieved, so it's hefty.
It's a boat anchor.
Yeah, but it screams, so it makes up for it. So.
And so, for example, for fans of Flatland Cavalry, throughout the night, what are some of the key songs that you would play this particular guitar?
Right. So, being in Flatland is kind of tough doing a lot of guitar changes because I'm the only guitar player. So the band either has to fill in or there has to be a space, to do a quick change. So this thing doesn't see a lot of action. Sometimes the telly will break your string, not this. The telly will break your string that we saw earlier. And I'll bust this out. And this is good for heavier songs like Coyote, Devil Off My Back, stuff like that. So maybe in the future, if start getting transitions really quick, I can just start busting this out in the middle. So I would love to.
And you're using 10s on this?
Yep, 10s. Yep.
Okay, well, this was, again, right up my alley. Old school, kind of vintage amp, pedals that don't require a PhD, and classic style guitars. I love it. A few final questions. Well, first of all, I hate this interview because you're taller than me, and I hate it when people are taller than me. But anyhow, let's see. Do you enjoy craft beer?
Yes, it depends what kind, but
That's the real question is, do you have any off the top of your head that you really enjoy? Because I love craft beer, and then they might be something I want to drink.
I like Deep Ellum IPAs, Rodeo Clown. It's just what I can name off the top of my head.
Okay, next question, most important question of every interview that I do, and that is, first of all, what is your favorite holiday and why is it Christmas?
Christmas, because I get to see my extended family, which I don't get very many chances to do now.
Okay, and the real question, which is, do you have a favorite Christmas song or a couple of favorite Christmas songs? Because, of course, you're not going to tell me that you don't like Christmas music because then I will erase this entire video and never post it. So we're just going to assume that you do love Christmas music. So just pick a couple that you really love because Christmas music is near and dear to my heart.
Okay, gotta take a couple seconds here. Jingle Bell Rock.
That's a good one.
Jingle Bells.
That's a popular answer, actually. Jingle Bell Man.
Yeah, Jingle Bells.
That's-
Anything with Jingle Bell in the name.
That's a popular answer, and I will take it. So anyway, thanks again, Reid, for doing this, and I hope somebody learned something. And we'll see you tonight in Clovis, New Mexico, and I'll see you on the next episode of Chasin the Tone.